These next 4 years are gonna fly by. This is what my high school principal told me during my first week of freshman year. And at the time, I thought he was full of shit. 4 years? That's a long fucking time. That's like a third of my life, essentially, at that point. Hindsight is a beautiful thing. Because looking back on it, he was right. He was very right. Oh, now, at this point, it's been over a month since I've graduated from high school. And through that time, I started a summer job, back at the beach, lifeguarding again, getting ready for the next chapter of my life. So I've been trying to draft this video for a while now. When I turned 18 back in March, I was trying to think of ideas, but I realized that if I wait a few months, reflect on being an adult, then I graduate, reflect on that, that can be the most conclusive video I can come up with in terms of like these significant milestones I've had this year. So before I reflect on these milestones and lay out the path ahead, I figured in this video I want to give the opportunity to explain my life story, explain my past, lessons I've learned, experiences I've had that have shaped me into the man I am today. And not only the man I am today, but the man I will become. The path, the trajectory I am on, and where I feel like I'm going to end up in the next few years. So, ladies and gentlemen, here's the story so far. So obviously it is quite ironic that I live in New England, but I hate snow. It's cold, it's wet, it's miserable, it ruins things, ruins cars, ruins houses, and it causes delays. February 28, 2005, it was a very cold day, very snowy day. In fact, there was a blizzard that night. And originally I was due to be born on February 28th, but due to the blizzard, due to staffing issues, if anything happened during delivery, they wouldn't have had the staff to take care of any problems that may have arisen, so they figured it would be best to hold off and wait for the next couple days to bring me into this world. So on March 1st, 2005, at 3:45 p.m., I was brought into this world. So obviously I am the oldest of my parents' 3 children. I was the first, so with them just being parents, with me just coming into this world, it was going to be an adventure for all of us. And before we get into it, I just want to say that, like, you know, from that post-blizzard, very cold day to this very swampy, humid day in the middle of July, where I am an adult now, like, they've done a phenomenal job. They've done so much for me. Give me a roof over my head, make sure I have food to eat, make sure I have clothes on my back. They've been supportive. They love me regardless of what I've done, any of the choices I've made. Like, they're phenomenal parents. I couldn't have asked for any better ones. Parents are awesome. That's all I can really say about it. So the few years that were following that, nothing crazy happened. September of 06, my brother was born. August of 08, my other brother was born. I almost died a couple times. Got sick. Got out. Water into a road at one point, which was interesting, so guess I'm lucky to be here. But without my childhood, early years, I was 3, 4, 5. Just, you know, there's a whole world to explore. We had the beach, we had Boston, oceans, lakes, mountains. All that we got to check out. The fascination has really never gone away. It's like, still, the world's massive. It's a big place. There's so much to see. Hindsight is a beautiful thing, like I've said. And the human experience, it's about struggle. It's about overcoming that struggle to become a bigger man, a better man. Becoming someone who's been through it, has been tested, who's gone through the ropes, has come out better on the other side. And like I said, my parents gave me a phenomenal life. I've had a phenomenal life so far. I haven't had to worry about much. They've done their job phenomenally. And I am still incredibly grateful for that. And with humans having to go through struggle and having to overcome it, it was around the ages of 5 that I got introduced to that. So at this point, I was in kindergarten, first grade, and I was seeing this child psychiatrist for a few months, trying to like do tests, see if there may be any possible disorders I may have. The reason I was going through this was because I wasn't able to speak till I was about 2 or 3, which is a common symptom of autism. So I was seeing the psychiatrist for a few months, and inevitably they came across a diagnosis that I did in fact have autism. So looking back on it now, that set that trajectory for my childhood. Really, I was like stuck in this, like autistic child role for like the majority of my formative years. It's like all this stuff, put on like an IEP, like a special education plan in school, being kind of seen and treated as a special kid, someone who has problems, who needs extra help, extra attention. I'm grateful that that was there, but that just really affected things in a way I just wouldn't have wanted them to go about it. And that's not the worst part. The worst part was being put on medication. And I'll say this probably a few times throughout the video, hindsight is a beautiful thing. Doing my own research, hearing things from other people, learning about how medication, it's not this tried and true thing that's been pushed on us for like many, many years. Like, oh, take this pill, it'll fix all our problems, it'll make all of them go away. And it didn't. It was many years, like throughout my childhood, where you're just messing around with like different medications, different dosages, doing all this stuff to try to like, make me appear normal. And truly, like that didn't help anyone, and definitely didn't help me. So having that title of a, special kid, different kid, like I wasn't this magnetic personality that I am now. It's like, truly, I felt like I had no friends during like elementary school and like start middle school. Like, I bet I did, but just at the time, it didn't really feel that way. It didn't have anybody but my family. And with that, obviously, I was super close to my family, close to my grandparents, close to my parents, close to like some aunts, some uncles, like relatives, like really being with like that tight-knit pack that is our blood and our last name. And however, like at this point in time as well is when I started to experience the concept of life and death. I think it was like 2012 or 2013 where I lost my grandfather, my dad's dad. And at that point, it was like just very tragic. Especially looking back on it now too, you hear stories about like the people who've been like long gone, and just it's unfortunate that you just don't really generally know them like when you were a kid, when they were alive, and you just can't really hear about them like their stories. When people talk about them in a good light, high regards, amazing things they've done. With the stories, I try to paint a picture of like who he was, and looking back on it, I took through those traits he'd had, the traits passed on to my father, and the traits my father's passed on to me. And I just try to live a life to honor him, and honor those traits, honor that last name. So after a few years of trying out many different cocktails of pharmaceuticals, eventually found something that did the job at the time. It made me more sociable, more normal, and this is when I started to be accepted by different people, by my peers, just people my age. And unfortunately, the people I was exposed to weren't the best influence. They exposed me to many different things like, vaping, smoking, drinking, and I say the most damaging was pornography. Looking back on it, that was the most heinous thing I indulged in. There's no benefit to it at all. Like I was hooked to it for many years. I didn't quit till like say 2 years ago. But yeah, it's if you're on porn, just you can't be doing it. You have to stop. You can't let your urges control you. Like they'll destroy your perception of women. They'll destroy confidence. They'll destroy your dopamine receptors, dopamine levels. You'll won't be able to get pleasure from simple things. You have to do all this like just heinous shit to like get that hit. It should be common knowledge, but if it's not, learn from me. Do not indulge in sin. Do not indulge in things that take power away from you, mess up your bodily chemistry, and make you dependent on. So with all this new social exposure, it wasn't just bad habits I picked up. I picked up quite a few good ones too. Mainly being the gym, and a few other building blocks of self-improvement. So I'm going to say it again. Hindsight, it's a beautiful thing. Because obviously, I know now that physicality is imperative to be able to hold a masculine frame, be able to have like that unshakable confidence around people, being that guy in the room everyone kind of just gravitates towards and like respects. But back then I did have some comprehension of that theory, where it was just no one listened to me, pay attention to me. Even though I had a lot more social exposure, I still did not feel like I was really a part of that group or any of the groups I was in. I was just there. They were glad to have me along, but I wasn't really making much difference. And I realized the first thing I need to change is my physicality. I need to, become bigger, become stronger, become somebody people respect and are not as likely to fuck with. So back then, right about when I started, I was like probably 140, 145 soaking wet. It wasn't a great place to be. But through a few good bulks, consistency, I was able to put on like 40 pounds in about a year and a half. And in this period of time as well, when I was discovering self-improvement, it wasn't just like your fitness, my health, the amount of muscle mass I had. It was like improving everything too. It was like style, grooming, charisma, being able to like interact with your boys, be able to talk to girls, like really starting to lay the foundation to build on those skills and become competent in those areas. However, I don't think I would have been as successful if this one thing didn't happen. And I want you to guess what that one thing was. So obviously this is not a COVID-19 scamdemic video, so I won't go into it too much. So, December 2019, some shit went down in China, that shit spread, that shit got to the US, then like March 19th, everything shut down, and the whole world went mental. People were afraid of living their lives. People like started like trusting government like it was their best friend. People started hating each other for having a difference of opinion compared to a narrative. Like, again, I can go on and on about this, but this is not the premise of the video. But I think two big factors that changed my mindset happened in this period of time. One was understanding the reality of the world, like who's in power, who controls everything, who controls the media, who controls what you consume, who controls how you think. Like being aware of those outlets of like what influences you. And two, just is resolve. It's not caving to pressure from friends, from loved ones. It's having your own truth, having your own moral compass. You have a personal understanding of what's right and what's wrong, and you go with that. You don't let people tell you otherwise. You don't let people try shaming you, guilting you into going on with like what they believe, going off the whole agenda, the whole narrative. And so now we've reached the present day, and many big things have happened recently. A few months back, I've had my 18th birthday. I've begun my life as an adult. I graduated high school last month. I am going to continue my education to become a firefighter. So the next couple of years I'll be getting my certifications for that, like EMT, Fire 1, Fire 2. If you're minor things too, like I just got certified as a personal trainer. Got my certificate right here. So In August, I will be starting my career in that, taking on clients while I'm in school, working at a gym for a few months, then eventually taking them online, under my own wing, under my own stuff, having full autonomy with that. I hit 2 plates on bench, getting there, getting big, I want to say that, but it's coming along well. So ladies and gentlemen, this chapter is coming to a close. For over a year now, you've seen my development over my senior year, seeing physical, psychological, and emotional growth. This next chapter has yet to be written. There are hints, there are ideas of what may be in it, but truthfully, I am unsure, unaware of the entirety of what I'm getting myself into. However, regardless of what life throws at you, there's a path to overcoming any challenge, achieving any goal. So ladies and gentlemen, it's time to turn the page and begin the next chapter of my life.